some of the other things that I'll tell you about is when I actually, how I learned how to swim, for example. So we would also always go down to Sandy Gully, and down by Sandy Gully there was a pump as in a water pump. This is where you get the water supply, the drinking water supply for that community. And so there's a dam that's there. And Wayne, my brother, when we lived in Bridgeport and Edgewater with my parents, as you remember before from one of my stories, I told you that Wayne was sort of like a fish. Whenever we would go out swimming, Wayne would be that dot that would be way out there on a log or something out there, and my parents didn't really care. They just knew that he was a good swimmer. And so when we went to Sandy Gully down to the pump, Wayne said, well, you're gonna have to learn how to swim, because everybody was jumping in the water and swimming around, and I didn't know how to do that. So what he did was he said, look, here's your instructions. You're gonna jump off the side, off the ledge. You're gonna kick your feet and paddle your arm. And if you're drowning, I'll save you. That was all the instructions I got for swimming. So forget all the swimming lessons, ladies and gentlemen, that you've gotten. Those were my swimming lessons. And let me add another layer. These water supply had huge pumps that were pulling the water through. And we had heard stories about people who went in there and swam in there, who the pump would pull them under the current from there and they would drown. So there was also that risk involved. But the reason why, even though I knew that it didn't bother me at that time is, number one, you're young and fearless, but number two is because I trusted Wayne. My brother I trust him explicitly that he would save me if something happened. And then I jumped off in the water, kicked my feet and paddled my arm, and that's how I learned how to swim. Now, one of the other things that was interesting is, if you remember in one of my episodes, I told you that when we got up to Rock Hall, we didn't have any electricity. So at some point in the equation, my brother was able to, Colin, my oldest brother, was able to communicate, get word to my mom that we didn't have electricity there. So my mom sent money to turn on the electricity there. So we actually had electricity. And by the way, just to add on a sidebar note, while we had water, which was really good that we had a water supply, many of the people in that neighborhood that did not have water supply. So they actually had to walk, they lived further up the hill, many of them, and then had to walk down the hill, walk all the way down, go way down to the water supply, a water supply close by, but not that close by, and then get the water, put the water on their head, and then walk all the way back up that hill, all the way back home. Talk about getting in shape. You're gonna be in really good shape because you have your balance and the water on your head. And sometimes people would have a bottle of, not a bottle, but a container of water on their head. And sometimes they're also carrying water in their hand as well. So, and they're walking up a hill and it's hot out, etc. And they were able to get it done. So needless to say, people were in pretty good shape from a fitness perspective there.